Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I hope that you're finding these videos helpful and useful. I hope that you're kind of following along, taking some of these trade ideas, paper trading alongside of me as you get a chance just to see how easy Forex really can be. So I'm doing things a little bit differently. I'm streaming live to YouTube on this call instead of all the other upload process. So it's going to be a little different. Hopefully it works out. But obviously, first, we're going to start here and say disclaimer. Before we even go into kind of what we were able to accomplish in this last couple of weeks, I will, of course, have to discuss that everything on this is for legal and it's not legal or financial or investing advice of any kind. I typically practice all forms of trading, including but not limited to high risk, high reward trading. You can obviously follow similar steps with safer, lower risk, lower reward styles. You can paper trade in a demo account alongside of me as you're learning, as you're growing, as you're gaining the skill set to be able to stop working for money and actually start having money work for you. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and stop this share. And since this is live to YouTube, I'm actually not even going to be able to pause and change the direction, but we're going to make do. So I'm going to go over to my VPS real quickly. This way we can actually see my portion of, right? Good thing I closed all those other brokers because it's going to be a little wonky. Let's see, let's expand my viewing video for a second so we can see what we're looking at. Obviously, this is the same platform I use in the mornings when I'm doing my classes for scalping and intraday trading of indices, a little bit of crypto, tiny bit of stocks, some Forex, but I use a different system in the morning. So this right here, what you're looking at, if you're new to the channel or you're not aware, is literally just a really easy to follow beginner style indicator system that kind of gives you some potential entries, within the market. So if you're brand new and aren't super sure or aware, let me tell you exactly what we're doing. And I think we have well over 6 months or so. I've been doing this a couple of years, but we kind of changed to a really duplicatable format, including rules to show you can do the same thing that I'm doing, that you can accomplish comparable results if you follow comparable rules. So obviously, for starters, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and all that good jazz that helps the YouTube algorithm do what it's going to do to help this all grow the way that we're looking for it to grow. So what we do on this call, what we did actually on August 2nd, about every 2 weeks, I've been doing it the first and third Tuesday of the month. I come to this chart, I look for any kind of 1 hour setups. I am looking for some confluence, obviously. I obviously have a little bit more experience, so I'm a little bit more picky in terms of the ones that I want to enter. But ultimately, I spend about 20 minutes twice a month picking these trades. I do have a manager that manages them for me according to the rules that I preset, and that's it. From there, sometimes they play out longer, sometimes they'll take multiple entries, sometimes I lose, and sometimes you win. So for example, on August 2nd, which was the last time I did one of these calls, we looked at a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trades. Granted, the market has been pretty choppy. Of those 5 trades, one of them did not enter. One of them, a little iffy, but ultimately they all won for about 322 pips. So the 2-week period prior to that actually got 4,595 pips. The 2-week period prior to that, I could probably tell you, was 1,200, 472, etc. so forth. So not every trade wins. You're not always going to hit 100% accuracy. Sometimes you're going to hit 50% accuracy even, especially if you're taking a small amount of trades. But for the most part, we're still averaging 80, 70, 60, well, definitely closer to 80, 90, but we're averaging a high probability in terms of win to loss ratios, number one. Number two, when I give this trade idea, what we're doing is saying, hey, you're always 100% of the time protecting your trade within 50 pips. When I say protecting, what I mean is you're dragging your stop loss into profit. You're scaling out of a position of your trade. You're applying a trailing stop, right? You're closing it entirely, or you're having some form of management take some actionable step at that time. So once you're in profit by at least 50 pips, that's what we're saying across the board, no matter what. I like to try to do 1 ATR, but since that fluctuates and it's a little bit less duplicatable, we still say that, and I still recommend that as secondary targets. But in general, 50 pips, you're always making an actionable decision. Secondary targets, I'm always looking at kind of the ADR, ATR, right? And of course, finally, I'm looking at things like structure, order blocks, liquidity voids, quarter points, Fibonacci, percentage-based moves, things along those lines. So let's see, where was I? Needless to say, I look for an entry based off of obviously the simplicity system for this purpose, for these calls that I'm doing on YouTube. My stop loss is typically below structure plus a 1 hour ATR spring room, meaning if this is structure, for example, I'm having my stop loss here plus a little bit of room, approximately 1 ATR's worth, right? To say, hey, if this springs down in this direction, I want to give it room to breathe and not just knock me out. But I also want the highest probability of losing, and I don't want to lose too much. The highest probability of winning, and I don't want to lose too much. So first thing we're going to do is review the couple of trades we looked at on the second, which was USDCHF. This is a little bit wonky because I marked up the ones I want to do today in purple, but then the other ones are blue, kind of aqua. So USDCHF was one of them. We were looking for a buy at the break of a fractal as of the August 2nd, or that's August 3rd on UTC time, right? 2 o'clock candle. So 3 o'clock, I think is when we did that one. I'd have to look at the recording to tell you for sure. But if you look down here at the bottom of my screen, you can kind of see it. So scroll all the way over. This would be that most recent fractal. That's August 2nd at 1900. We don't break that zone until here, right? We don't break anywhere in there. From there, we move about 64 pips. We never come back down and hit this low or plus that in the spring, to about 89 pips in total. So would you have had enough room and time to protect this for 50 pips? Absolutely. Has this really taken off the way we were wanting it to? No, but definitely still a great winning trade. As you notice, that's aqua, so I'm going to go ahead and take it off my watch list now. I'm not looking for a new entry on this as of today. Let's see, Euro GBP was another one. I'm going to go get my crosshairs real quick. It's kind of zoomed in. Can't see the candles, but this is just for review purposes. So I think we'll all be okay. Same kind of concept. Looking at the bottom of the screen, August 3rd, 3 o'clock, the break of that most recent fractal, we moved about 125 pips. On this one particularly, actually, I only got 108 personally. So that's how many I got out of this trade exactly. But needless to say, did it move for at least 1 ATR and 50 pips or 50 pips? Yes, it did. So a total of 108 pips is how much I got on that one. Again, as you notice, that is not purple on my watch list, so I'm going to take it off entirely. EURNZD was next. Let's see. This one is the one that had no entry, and I'll zoom in just so you can see it really, really clearly. Let's see. August 9th, a little bit too far. I'm going to turn off my auto scroll, scooch it over a little bit, scroll up. So I'm looking for August 3rd. This is August 4th. This is August 3rd at the 12 o'clock. We never really come up and break this most recent August 3rd, 3 o'clock. We don't break that area, right? We don't come up and make any higher highs. So this one counts as really no entry. And if you guys recall, that video was recorded, so you can go back and discuss it. But we did talk kind of about in this range. Needless to say, this one I didn't take an entry on. And as of right now, does it technically have room? Yes, but let's talk about risk and reward real quick. So from where price is currently at, my major target is going to be about 190-ish pips away. My tightest stop is about 30 plus 1 ATR, 50. Odds are my stop loss is going to be just less than a 1-to-1. So not as conducive as I want it to be. But needless to say, it's definitely not a bad trade. As long as you're super aware, you're protecting this within 50 pips under any circumstances. So on this particular trade, would I wait until the break of that fractal? No, I wouldn't. On this particular trade, if I was going to take it, I would take it right now and not wait, because we've already got 1, 2. We'd be looking for this third leg. I don't want to wait until half of that third leg is already done. So this would be buy at now, right? I'm writing that down because usually it's buy at fractal. But needless to say, not a bad trade idea. So zooming straight into some trade ideas, let's discuss this part for just a brief moment. And I'm going to first digress back for a second and say, if you're new to trading, please go to the description below. I have a link tree. Pick any one of those brokers. My personal preference is Hugo's Way. They are the most stable, least dramatic, constant lot size. They've got cryptos, they've got stocks. I love them. I am working on a 6 and 7 figure compounding challenge that I'm going to run through EURNZD. So if you're interested in participating in that, definitely make sure you use that link to sign up with a paper trading account with them as well. I will be able to know who all signed up with those links. Those are the people who are going to get the invite for that kind of program. So that's on that. Obviously, I recommend having more than one broker anyways. I do recommend having long-term relationships with them, mostly because when stuff happens, and stuff does, they will stick by you. They will honor you. If you're constantly hopping from one to one to one to one, it's a lot harder to get the support and the aid that you need when you need it. So needless to say, if you're brand new to trading, start with that. Really simple to do. It's not overly complex. Download MT4 and maybe just start playing around. If you're on a demo account, trust me, you can do no wrong. You can break it, and I promise you, none of it's going to matter. So play around with MT4. That's this platform right here. Get comfortable. Maybe consider buying and selling along with some of these YouTubes that I'm doing twice a month, and just seeing that if you took the trade alongside of me and managed it the way that I'm saying to manage it, would that account be up or down in 2 weeks? Would you have made money in 2 weeks? Now, granted, that's paper money. It's monopoly money. You cannot take that to Ulta or, to the Gucci store or wherever else it is, wherever else you're going. But just try and see, is this something you can do long term? Give it the actual time it takes to evolve in this process. Now, once you do that, please know every one of these calls that we're looking at are pretty simple. Starting with EURNZD as our first kind of trade idea for the night. Typically speaking, what I'm looking for is a break in direction. We have a nice trend line. Of course, we broke that area and came back down a retest. We've got our nice simplicity signal, perfect, beautiful. We've, of course, made a higher high, and we've retested to validate that higher high. So in general, we're in a good position. Now, is this my favorite trade of the night? No, but does it have room from where we're currently at to its next potential turnaround area? Yes, it does. Is it at least better than the 1-to-1? It is. Do I like to see a little bit more than a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio? Typically, I do, but still not a bad way to be. So remember, my stop loss is going to be below structure on the 1-hour time frame plus a 1 ATR cushion. My first target is always going to be 50 pips using this strategy, meaning I'm making an actionable decision to protect, trail, trim, scale, or some actionable decision. In general, I have a pretty nifty manager that does all that for me automatically. You can find that on cooltradingtools.com. I didn't make it. I just worked with a gentleman who did, and it is by far the smartest manager on the market. Let's see. Beyond that, typically when I have these trade ideas, we always say at the break of the next fractal. Very rarely, if we are taking an entry now or looking at any other criteria, we do note that verbally. And of course, I note that in my notes as well. So starting with EURNZD, this is not a buy at the break of a fractal. This is a buy at the now. Again, the reason why is we're not going to wait for, let's just measure this together, 44 pips, right? We're not going to wait that many pips just to make sure we're confirmed when we already have 1, 2, we're looking for this third leg of a push. So we may as well, if we're going to take it, by all means, take it at the break here. We're good. You can take it now. You know where your stop loss is going, and you know how you're managing it. So next we've got USDCHF. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Same kind of concept. We've got a beautiful impulse. This is kind of a nice, this is a wedge. This is wedging up. This is kind of almost your ascending channel. Not quite, it's not as thin as we would need it to be. Needless to say, for a multitude of reasons and on a multitude of time frames, I'm looking for a buy on this pair. Now, granted, if we zoom in, we've already got several impulses, and we're already pretty late to the table from this buy signal. So let's see. Figure at least 109 pips, 97 pips. That's 120 to the lowest form, 97, plus a good 12, 15 for the ADR, a cushion, right? ATR cushion. But keep in mind, that is not my only target. My overall target is going to be up in this range. So from where price is currently at, I'd be looking for the push to the upside, a pullback, then all the way up into this range, which is about 234 pips, 260-ish pips away. Not at all a bad way to be, definitely something to consider. I'm looking for a buy on this pair on USDCHF at the break of that fractal. So of course you can wait for a pullback, not a bad way to be. In general, on this one, this doesn't have a high ADR, so I'm not overly worried with waiting for the break and the confirmation. just know you might have to survive a pullback all the way down into this range if you take this continuation breakout trade. So that's that. You know you're protecting within 50 pips. You know where your stop loss is going, and there you go. EURCHF is next. This is one of the better ones. If you take a look, you've got a nice, beautiful trend line. Another one here. We've broken above. We've retested below. Nice tight stop. Great targets. I think this one has a risk to reward ratio was one of my favorites. I was a little hesitant. I was like, I don't even know if I want to do the call tonight. Maybe I'll do the call another night. There's not a lot setting up, and some ones that are setting up are a little bit, they're too over correlated. But this is one of the better ones, and I'll show you why. The ratio right here is only about a 1 to 2.4, so we're not even at a 2 to 1, right? But in general, when we come all the way up into this range, and our stop loss is here, giving it the ATR spring room that we need, we're at a 2.6 to 1 risk to reward ratio. Not a bad way to be. So this is EURCHF. If you zoom in on multiple time frames, you really get a chance to see where our targets are really going to be long term. Watch how this expands. I'm at a 3 to 1. That's not a 3. Let's find out together. Hold on. It's a 3 to 1 risk reward ratio up into this. And this is going to be my major target on this swing trade. Beyond that, if it'll let me grab it, I'm not sure. There we go. Probably going to have to pop up a time frame just so I can show you guys this risk to reward ratio. I'm going to hit buy again. I'll pull this all the way up into this range. And I will show you what your risk to reward ratio is. Scroll this down just a smidge. Should actually just go ahead and delete this off the chart. There we go. Clean up a little bit. You're at almost a 13 to 1. What I'm looking at when I'm on TradingView is almost a 10 to 1 risk to reward ratio from where my stop and my take profit is at. So it's a really, really, really good trade overall. Across the board, definitely not a bad way to be from where the overall targets are. Keep in mind, we're looking for the impulse correction, all the way even up into this range. Now, are we going to take that in one fell swing? Absolutely not. We're definitely not. But overall, great trade idea. So that's EURCHF. We already did EURNZD, USDCHF, EUROCHF, GBPCHF. So before I go into one more chef pair, we need to talk. Obviously, we cannot take every single one of these currencies because there's an overlap and an over leverage per currency. So I can't decide what your rule is for you. I don't get to be your conscience. I can just tell you, for me, I started having rules for myself that said, hey, if this trade is in profit, I'm allowed to be in 2 of the same currency. You know, if both trades are in profit already and they are protected, I'm allowed to be in 3 of the same currency. But if they're all in drawdown, I'm only allowed to be in 2 of the same currency, kind of thing. So you've got several overlaps here in terms of GBPCHF and the euro. So please, for the love of God, do not take every one of these chef pairs. That's too much. There's a good chance that if something happens with the chef, I know it might be paper money, but you could blow your account. So we don't make that kind of a risque decision. With that disclaimer aside, beautiful simplicity signal. We're looking for the continuation. We got a nice little baby pullback, and now we're sitting within range. So by the break of this fractal, perfectly the break of that exact fractal, we're looking for this to come up a good 120 pips. Now, granted, the risk to reward on this is not beautiful. It's barely a 1 to 1. But overall, with the kind of accuracy we see, definitely not a bad way to be. Figure you're definitely protecting within 50 pips, number 1. Number 2, upon pullback, you can take an additional entry. If you've already protected, right, you can actually add more onto the table and not increase your risk. You're just only increasing your reward depending on how you're lotting and managing, right? So by all means, take your second entry all the way up into this range. If and when we break above this zone, that kind of 0.11715 area, if and when we break above this, no guarantees. I would be looking for the massive draw pullback and of course the continuation. So really curious to see how this one plays out over time. A lot of the chef pairs are really, I dare not say the word oversold, but oversold is the only one I can use that describes what I'm trying to describe. So that's GBPCHF. We got 2 more on the table. Please excuse my voice. I am incredibly sleepy today. I did not sleep. My youngest came home yesterday, went to bed all early. Was up all night, just thoughts on my mind. Couldn't get back to bed. So This would be my sleepy voice after a long, long day. But 2 more pairs and then we will both call it a night. Hopefully you guys get a chance to take these alongside of me. And again, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, all the stuff that helps YouTube. And I think I did that just right. So GBPJPY is next on our radar. Again, notice how this really lines up. Perfect simplicity signal. Got kind of a janky double bottom here, janky W. We can live with that. So just measuring risk and reward, we're literally breaking that fractal right now. It's a pretty steep risk, right? It's 257 plus an ATR cushion. But look up to even the next high, you're looking at 384 to where the breakout happened. Not a bad way to be. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to zoom out just a smidge so we can see one more time, make it ugly. Go to a higher time frame. Please notice we've been trading in this range for a hot minute. This is GBPJPY 4-hour time frame. I'm simply looking for this to come up into this range. You're still better than a 1-to-1. You're close to a 2-to-1, even on your smallest possible targets. That makes this an ideal trade. Perfect. Well, I should never say perfect, not perfect, but really high probability, right? So that's GBPJPY, nice impulse. We've got the retest. We're kind of sitting it structured, looking for the breakout. You know what your targets are. You know you're protecting within 50 pips, and then there we go. Last but not least is EURAUD. And let's see, again, brand new, fresh simplicity signal. We've retested perfectly. That's exactly what we want. So how we trade this one is going to be a little bit different. So you're going to decide, depending on your level of skill and account size and balance and all the other good stuff, and patience, your psychology levels, I think all play a big role in this. But ultimately, if I zoom out, we know if I wait till the break of that fractal, it's about 224 pips, leaving structure still better than a 1-to-1. Ultimately, we're looking for this to kind of come up here into this 474-ish pip range, all the way to the $1.50 level. It's going to take time, though. That's not going to happen overnight. So that's still better than a, what is it, 3-point-something to 1, 4 to, close to 4-to-1, give or take. That's at the break. Taking it here gives you a tighter stop loss, right? And quicker to profit. So for me, based off of this beautiful trend line, I'm going to zoom out. Based off of this nice downward swing, we can go really tight here, or we can go a little bit looser here. I would definitely be looking to take this now, saying, hey, we've broke the trend line, we've retested, looking for this to take off now. We've got a better entry than the signal itself. So for that reason, I don't mind taking it now. And again, I will notate that those are the only two I said take at the now. So the rest of them was at the break of a fractal. So buy at the now. Otherwise, of course, the fractal in general is the rules, or are the rules. So keeping this as short as humanly possible. I don't know how I have another viewer on here. That's strange. Hold on. Who is on here? Okay, I have a guest. Probably someone with my YouTube link, but I didn't know that. Anyways, having said that, you guys know exactly what we're looking for. This is as easy and as simple as we make it. Please make sure that you are protecting your profit within 50 pips. Please consider your own forms of management. If you don't have your own, by all means, try mine until you learn and cultivate your own. I'm a firm believer that trading is a very individual journey. It's just nice to have people who hold your hand along the way to help you see things in your own way. Ideally, is my goal, hopefully. So I hope you guys all have a beautiful, happy, and amazing, incredible night. Take care. Thanks for listening, and God bless.